YouTube is firing more and more people to replace them by AI. This means more automated channel strikes, warnings, and shadowbans. This video is divided in the following chapters. What is a shadowban? How do you recognize one? How long do they last? What are the 21 reasons you could get one? Which one of those have the highest risk? And what are the 7 advanced methods that you can use today to fix a shadowban channel? Let's start with the first reason a channel gets shadowbanned: repetitive content. This is somewhat different from the reused content policy strike, because if YouTube suspects that you make low effort, similar videos to the ones before, especially with videos without a real human in them, they can lower the views your channel gets without giving you a strike. Well, how do they find out? Well, they likely use some sort of computer vision system with OCR tools. Now, if that sounds too complicated, simply be aware that YouTube, including any other social media platform like Instagram, likely scans every frame of your video. And if this automated system recognizes too many similar frames, they may shadowban your channel. So avoid reusing other people's videos and even your own videos or clips without significant changes, especially if you reuse some of your own videos and they are on different YouTube channels from different Gmail addresses. But that's a side note, because if you won't get shadowbanned, you will definitely receive a strike, unless of course you transform the video wisely. And I've actually found 20 practical solutions to avoid getting striked or shadowbanned because of this repetitive content. Listen closely, because this applies to both shorts and longs. The first way to avoid getting hit with this reused repetitive content stuff, you want to use L cuts and J cuts, or send it to your editor. Just like you can flip your video, right, horizontally, or apply a vignette effect, or increase the speed or slightly decrease it. You can crop the video, you can add color grading, or maybe even add a black and white effect. You can change your voiceover. And for the 13 other editing tricks, keep watching. And also at the end of the video, I will share a full 1-page overview that you can send to your editor. But before we continue, what is a shadowban? Well, here's my definition. It's reduced visibility on the platform. It means that your videos appear less in search results, recommendations, or even the notifications to your subscribers. Which brings us to how to know if you are shadowbanned. How do you know that you have one? Well, you will see a noticeable decrease in impressions. This one is logical. But also you will find it harder to find your videos in YouTube search. And then, how long do they last? Well, usually in my experience and what I've heard from talking to other creators, usually at least 3 months. Possibly 6 to 12 months. But a disclaimer, don't expect everything that I say to be facts. Well, I've run over 10 channels since I started on YouTube in 2012. One got banned by YouTube entirely. On many of them, I had strikes and warnings. I've uploaded over 400 long-form videos and hundreds of shorts. And I care about truth. And I try my best to give you as much of it. That said, I'm by no means a YouTube insider, so everything that I say, take it with a grain of salt. Which brings me to the 21 ways you can get shadowbanned. The first one was repetitive content. It's very high risk. The second one is slightly lower risk, and it's changing your channel name or country. Because even if your channel is verified, it will likely undergo a spam control review. Just like Twitter does, but it's public. They actually say that they do this. But YouTube likely does this as well. You just don't mention it. To go even further, I think YouTube likely has a professional expert team, like under the name of fighting spam, something like that. And the people at YouTube trying to stop spam, they're likely brainstorming for years, trying to find out, like, what does a spammer do first when they take over a channel, right? When they hack a channel or whatever they do. And how can we detect these scammers, these spammers, with AI, with automation, with the bots that they use? In other words, what do those scammers do that 90% of people don't do? And one of them is changing channel names or countries, right? It doesn't happen often that you change your country. Maybe 10% or even less of the YouTubers actually change these. And the key part here is that YouTube has to automate, right? They need to automate. They can't hire that many people to review stuff manually. So they need to say, okay, when a channel changes their country, right, that's a bit suspicious. But I don't think that it will get shadowbanned in most cases. That's why this is medium risk. Just try to avoid it. That's what I'm trying to say. Which brings me to a warning or strike on your channel. And it actually has a high risk of getting your channel temporarily shadowbanned. Of course, this depends on which policy you get a warning or strike for. And if it is on a short video, or you get striked on a video that is long form. Why do I say this? Well, YouTube seems to be less strict on shorts. So a strike or warning on a video that was a short likely has lower risk. YouTube actually recently gave me a strike on a long form video under the harmful and dangerous content policy. And here are the views for that channel and the moment I got the strike with the arrow. And if this doesn't look like a shadowban, then I don't know what will. That's why getting a warning or channel strike is extremely high risk for getting shadow banned. The only positive thing is that I actually found out the exact things that I need to avoid in the future, because sometimes finding out what you did wrong is very difficult with YouTube. So keep watching if you want the exact screenshots, the visuals that I use that you should avoid in your videos. But first, let's rank the 3000 shadow banned words as B tier. What you want to do is you want to avoid using any of these 3000 words from this list. Simply Ctrl F, the words from your title, right, that you are using in your video title, in this sheet before you use it, or ask ChatGPT like, hey, does my video title currently has any of the words in this list? And by the way, the sheet is not mine, I will put a link somewhere below where you can get it for free. But a higher risk that many YouTubers don't know is that deleting videos can cause a shadow ban. And there are 3 reasons for it. First, the viewers who watched your deleted video now won't get shown your future videos. Now don't believe me, that's what I conclude after reading the following tweet from the YouTube algorithm manager. I quote, YouTubers don't delete your videos unless you have a very, very good reason. Because when you delete a video, you delete your channel's connection to the audience that watched that video. If you want to maximize your growth, then unlist your videos. Now the second reason is that you delete your Google search ranking for that video. And the algorithm possibly shows your other videos less in Google search, which means less views. And I mean, if I were YouTube, I can understand, right? Let's say you get hired for a new job, then you get fired, and then at some point you get rehired again. You have less trust in this manager, right? Same like you, if you delete your videos, you're more likely to delete future videos. This is why I suspect YouTube also has a hidden trust score for each channel. Now, more about this trust score system later. But YouTube also has shown very often that a video can still blow up years later, like it actually did for one of my videos. Therefore, never delete a video. Unlist them, that's it. Just like you don't want to delete a large number of video comments, which is B tier. But A tier is adding a penalized account as a channel manager. This is high risk for obvious reasons. So be careful when giving your, for example, employees access, or even an agency. Because if that agency was linked to a bad reputation channel, you might run into a shadow ban. Which brings me to clickbait. Be careful with videos like this or this. To be more specific, be careful with a low like to dislike ratio. YouTube cares about them. They care about them a lot more than I thought. And to give you some sort of benchmark, anything below 95% is something that I want to optimize for in my next videos. But YouTube also tracks clickbait and may shadow ban your channel if you get a low star rating during this survey. Now they don't show it often, but still I wanted to mention it. And lastly, they can track how clickbait your videos, of course, through your comments and perhaps sentiment analysis. Now, although I think it's likely that they do this a lot, or to what extent, right? Because doing this could cost a lot of money and compute power with AI and stuff. Which actually brings me to the first S tier, highest risk, which is sexual content. Even showing a stretch, like I show speed, can trigger YouTube's automated OCR system. So be careful. Which brings us to B tier, which is reusing the same or almost the same thumbnails. Now you've probably some creators do this, and it's not the highest risk, but YouTube obviously wants a good user experience. On top of that, more of your viewers think that they have already watched your video, they skip your video, because they see a similar thumbnail or the same thumbnail. Therefore, you get less views. So whether you get shadow banned or not, you get less views because you use the same thumbnail. So use my free thumbnail pack to create thumbnails fast, like this, and this in minutes, for free in Photopea, or of course in Photoshop. Which brings us to another S tier, shocking, sensational and misleading video content, where many users mark your videos as uninteresting or don't recommend this channel. Videos like this, with the emphasis on the amount of people that click on don't recommend channel. This is the most important part here. This is something you must absolutely avoid at all costs, because even the not interested button, that's for that specific video, but don't recommend this channel tells YouTube your channel leaves a negative experience for the viewers, and thus is very likely to get you a shadow ban. Something also to avoid, even though it's B tier, is uploading a copyrighted video, especially more than 3. They can get you a shadow ban. Now this is lower risk and could even be C tier actually, but I want to say, try to avoid uploading copyrighted videos. Now how do you do this? Well, you even have companies like this, where you can use the licensing of mainstream artists like Post Malone, The Weeknd, famous rappers, all of them. I will actually put a link somewhere below to the two if you're interested. I found it to be very unique, and I was actually impressed by their low prices for actually using famous songs in your videos. Which brings me to uploading a world blocked video. Also, if you upload more than 3 in a time, it can get you a shadow ban. Now, you may get your video blocked in certain countries or even the whole world, also because of a copyright issue. This is usually the link. But also the same with the duplicate thumbnail one. Like when your video gets blocked in certain countries, less people can view it. Therefore, I'm not sure if you will get shadow banned or if you actually just get lower views because less people can see your video. Which brings me to traveling and IP changes. They're unlikely to give you a shadow ban because, of course, a lot of people travel, right? A lot of people switch from IP address when they travel. But since platforms like Facebook really dislike it and actually block, for example, ad accounts due to IP changes, I still need to include it. Which brings me to another S tier. Avoid this at all costs, which is the fake engagement policy. I think this is obvious, but hey, bot or farm traffic, this is something you should never do. For obvious reasons, this can get you even banned. So if YouTube's detection system may see weird patterns, they could shadow ban your channel. You can find more about it in their policy. But I think you don't need that, right? I'm sure you won't do that. What you probably are doing is engaging with your own videos through different accounts. Now this is C tier, it's low risk. Additionally, like it's quite normal for other people in your same home or IP address to see your videos, right? Maybe you live with your parents and maybe your mom or your brother sees them. Or maybe you live with your girlfriend and your girlfriend sees your video on the same IP address and likes the video, right? However, if you do this at scale, watching your videos, liking them and so on, if you do that at scale, it's obviously S tier. But one that is for sure S tier is that if you become a threat to YouTube, like Andrew Tate, for example. YouTube gets pressured by advertisers, governments, also other places to make decisions like permanent bans. For example, like what they did to Stephen Will Do It, who, by the way, just offered Mr. Beast $2 million to get him his channel back through, of course, Mr. Beast connections in YouTube. Which brings me to imitating another channel or celebrity, which is A tier. Try to avoid this. Always say fan account in your, for example, descriptions. Add disclaimers in your video, your comments. Which brings me to another B tier, which could also be A tier. It's when a channel is inactive for a long time. You could even get demonetized and having to reapply for the YouTube Partner Program 90 days after, well, you're banned. But there are solutions, which I just wanted to mention. You can avoid getting demonetized by uploading a video every 5 months. By re-uploading, for example, an improved YouTube short can already be enough. Or post in your community tab every month or so. That's what I try to do to not get demonetized on channels that I'm no longer active. Or else you will lose monetization when you finally have it, like me. Which brings me to another A tier, high risk, which is using a new channel for any videos, right? A channel that is not aged will get you lower views. In my experience, I've seen this too often for it to be not true. So ideally, use a channel that is at least 1 year old. Yes, I know, it's not great, sometimes really difficult, but it's all about trust score these days, apparently. And another S tier, high risk, is any link to another already penalized YouTube account. If you have ever been blocked or banned by YouTube, having that link through all of the ways that I'm just about to describe to you is S tier, something you should absolutely avoid, and one of the highest risks, if not the highest risk of them all. So what could the link be to penalize the account? Well, the same phone number used for that account, or you use the same IP address, or the same computer, the laptop, right? The operating system, or even screen resolution, right? All these fingerprints, same hard disk number, and even the same modem. Or the AdSense account that was linked. Or maybe you reuse a thumbnail with unmodified hashes. Or conflicting cookies, right? If you have still the same cookies on the laptop browser. Now, with all of that being said, I also have 2 honorable mentions before we move to the Shadowbanned solutions. First, make longer videos. In every niche, there appears to be a dry zone. Now, what is this dry zone? It's an area where very few videos blow up that have that particular video length. Now, probably this happens because of viewer behavior. And it has everything to do with how long your video is. An extreme example that doesn't work is an 8-hour fall asleep to soccer transfer news, right? This won't work. This is within the dry zone. Uploading 8-hour videos in this category won't work. And what I found, for example, is that videos less than 5 minutes seems to be exponentially harder to get views in most niches that I have knowledge of. Which is why I recommend making longer videos and see what it does for you. If you currently make an 8-minute videos, right? Try 10 minutes. If you currently make 12-minute videos, try 16-minute ones or 20-minute ones. Never go shorter, however. right? Always make them longer in most cases, right? How? Well, you can, for example, make a compilation video like this, or this, or this, and this. Also know that more and more people watch YouTube on TV, so longer videos actually gets watched on TV more. They just play in the background. People don't even watch the TV, right? That's what their behavior is of most people that watch TV. They just maybe do stuff in the house. I actually know my parents, they leave the TV on when they're just away from home. So this is also why RPMs on longer videos are just higher. Which brings me to a tattoo story. I want to show you this. This girl, she replied under this video with the following. I quote, "The algorithm is not only picking up keywords in the titles and captions, but it's also picking up the actual images in the videos. According to my analytics, one of my weight loss videos appeared as a suggested video under a tattoo video. Why is this? Because the algorithm detected that I have a sleeve of tattoos and now it puts it under a tattoo video is recommended. Well, that's a story. So first, never get tattoos. Jokes aside. Second, understand that everything that you show in your video can be used against you. For example, I have these soccer shoes. I think they're beautiful in the background because I love them. But I might now be attracting soccer YouTubers to these videos or be recommended under them. So I just put them back. But I just like them too much to not to show in the videos. But I hope you understand my point. By the way, comment the word guide below. For all of the 20 editing techniques, one of them I showed earlier, to avoid a reused content policy strike or Shadowban. But also 2 SEO methods to get views from YouTube search. An AI prompt library with many useful prompts that I use, including the 2 that can make your video show in ChatGPT results. And so much more, which brings me to the first of the 7 Shadowbanned solutions. First, use YouTube ads. Yes, I know this is not the greatest, it costs money. Or of course, use YouTube promotions within your YouTube studio. Now, so far I have spent actually $300 on ads to some of my YouTube channels. And if you send paid traffic to your videos, who actually watch your videos, you won't just increase your trust score, you can also get monetized insanely fast for as little as $30 sometimes. Of course, depending on the countries you target. The second solution is to create backup channels. This way you have an aged account when you need one. Now, before we go to a hidden solution, let's talk about an obvious one, which is to take the 15-minute policy training when you get a warning or strike. Now, this will expire your warning after 90 days and likely lifts a potential shadow ban also after the same 3 months. But another solution is making sure your initial audience actually likes your video, that you have a ideally 100% like to dislike ratio on the first 48 hours. I don't know the reason you might have a poor like to dislike ratio, so I can't give you a specific solution here on how to fix this. But if you currently think that your videos are getting shadow banned and you have a low like to dislike ratio on some of your recent videos, then look no further and improve them, because this might be the true bottleneck. Which brings me to the biggest fix of them all, which is to reset your trust score. Here is how you do this. You want to create a new channel over here. You want to log into your main channel, the one that you think is shadow banned. Then you want to go to advanced settings, then click on move channel, and then you want to choose the new YouTube channel that you've just created. Then click to delete that new channel. Disclaimer, you won't delete your main one if you're logged in to your Shadowban channel, because you will actually delete the new channel that you've just created. You will just move your Shadowban channel into the new environment. Basically, you're replacing the brand new channel with the one that you already have, because the next step is to move the channel. But make sure, again, that you're logged into the Shadowban channel before you click on it. And voila, then you will see this notification and you've successfully reset your channel trust score. Again, full details are in my YouTube guide that you can get for free if you comment below. And if you're monetized, then here's another fix. Changing your connected AdSense can unshadowban your channel. For example, changing your connected AdSense from an individual AdSense account to one that you have that is on a business profile. Which brings me to the next fix, the 13 other editing tricks to stop getting shadow banned because of this repetitive content. First, adding zoom ins. Second, using Photoshop generated fill to create a different room setting. You keep this part, right? But then everything else is, you of course don't want to move outside of this area, but then everything else is generated by Photoshop. So you basically have you stand in a new room, which of course makes it look completely different. You can also add visuals, obviously, any type of visuals within the video. You can increase or decrease the speed and add captions, but also adding B-roll or a split screen if you have shorts, or of course for long form, putting you to the side, like actually my videos, right? And adding sound effects, really important. Also, background music, you can add it or remove it. And this one is even more important, to recut your video. Of course, remove parts entirely, make them more silence cut, right? Remove the silences even more, or add silences for that sake. Or re-record your video entirely. This is really important. Ideally, you can do this. This isn't always possible, but at all costs, make sure your video has a different video duration. This is really important. Can't be the same length. Ideally, it's as big of a difference as possible. The bigger the difference, the better. Again, comment the word PDF below for the one-page overview of all the 20 editing tricks that you can send to your editor and all of the other bonuses. But if there's one thing you must absolutely avoid, it is a strike or channel warning. Mentioned it before, but especially it happens more and more often with Google using AI automated systems. I actually also got one, as I mentioned. Many people I know got one too, especially the last 3 months, and it likely causes a shadow ban for at least 3 months, as I showed you earlier. It actually happened on my IP address, at least that is what I suspect. And in this video, I share the exact things that you should avoid showing in your videos, saying in your videos. Watch it over here. It's honestly one of my most valuable videos, even better than my free thumbnail pack.